This is Steph. I'm a retired paramedic, and I just want to make a disclaimer at the very beginning here that I do go over like how to manage certain things, but I really cannot urge or emphasize this enough to please get, if nothing more, a basic first aid book, preferably like an EMT book, because that's a little more comprehensive. And I'll tell you, if you try to buy one brand new, they're horrifically expensive. I mean, they're about the price of what my actual EMT course and paramedic courses cost. I think my EMT was 400 something, and paramedic was, or EMT might have been 300. Of course, we're talking 1984, and my paramedic course in 92, or I graduated in 92. I think that was less than 500 overall. I have no idea what, because now now everything is through colleges, and mine was just a trauma center. We were taught by the regional, the head of trauma, the head of the trauma department at the hospital, and it was just a certificate. Um, I got no college credits, although it was certainly college level course. Um, but please get a book, study it, because I can tell you I was on calls that got me kind of rattled, and you have to kind of calm yourself down. And so, even someone that does this for a living is going to get rattled. And I can tell you, I've worked on family members. That is difficult, or a friend. I mean, I've never had that situation, but it could conceptually happen. And I don't mean to sound cold, but when you're working on strangers, it's just different, as I'm sure you can imagine. I mean, when it's a family member, it is just a whole different ball game. Believe me, it shakes you to your core. I have gotten very good with my boyfriend because I've had to call the ambulance so many times, heart issues, that I just go into paramedic mode and um, just do, I take his vitals, I write everything down, I know what the medics need, and I'm very cool, calm, and collected because I've been through it so many times. But I had to attend to my niece one time. She, for whatever reason, we'll never know, jumped out of a moving vehicle, and she had basilar skull fractures, and she never woke up. She was declared brain dead a week later in the hospital, and like I said, I was the only medically trained. It's a long story, but basically they brought her back to my sister's house, and I was there, and I was the only person with any concept of medical stuff, and the whole time I just kept thinking, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. It was god awful. And I'm not trying to make it about me. I'm just saying that it's within the realm of possibility with whatever is coming down the pike, at whatever they're going to throw at us. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if ambulances are going to be running during the last things we were going through the last couple of years. I actually had to call the police one night, and they were triaging calls, and they refused to come out here. So I, I don't know, folks. I mean, we're like living in just beyond bizarro world. I don't even know what to call it, but just please get a book, read it, practice on, a friend or a family member, or even your animals. You can practice listening to their lung sounds and heart sounds, and all that. And on YouTube, you can get videos that'll teach you lung sounds. And if you want to go the extra mile, heart sounds. I mean, that's not something we were taught as paramedics, but I just like to know everything. So I watched that and learned how to listen to heart sounds and know what they all mean. And I couldn't possibly sit here and give you all the information to like be an EMT or a paramedic, because it's just far too much information, and I don't want to say something that might not be entirely accurate, or what have you. I want you to take the responsibility to teach yourself, essentially, or I mean, if you can get into an EMT class real quick or something, I don't know. And I don't even know if you have to be an EMT anymore to become a paramedic. I did. I had to have at least 1 year experience as an EMT to go to paramedic school. Well, I'd had almost a decade on an ambulance and about 8 or 9 of those years, about 8 years as an EMT, 2 or 3 as a driver with CPR. And I went to EMT school, and then I finally went to paramedic school. So I had like tons of experience behind me. And but anyway, all that aside, I wanted to give you some ideas on like what to have, and because medical supplies are stupidly expensive, especially for some things that are like this, it's just a piece of fabric. I don't even know what they cost, but I did look on Amazon. You can get some things on Amazon. I'll get to that. Also, look on the used bookstore website. Like I like thriftbooks.com. There's numerous ones. You might be able to scrounge up a used EMT book or something. That's going to get into like a lot more of like the different types of splinting and oxygen, which I don't have oxygen canisters, and I don't have IV equipment, and I don't have an ambulance parked in my driveway, so I don't have access to all this stuff any more than anybody else. I just have a lot of first aid supplies because I've been collecting them over the years, and I make sure I have a fully stocked kit, or multiple kits, I should say, in my truck. So if there's an accident, if there's no one there, we'll stop. And so with all that out of the way, I want to get on to. I just want to show you quickly what I use. This is what I call my first in bag. I keep this in the truck. It's just a little bag. It's just stuff I'm going to need when I first get to someone, and then my boyfriend or whoever can go and get. I have another kit over here that's it looks like a tackle box. That's essentially what it is. The only difference is this was made by Plano, who was, I don't know if they still are, but, company that made medical boxes. But if you can go to a thrift shop, I meant to bring one in from the garage, and just a little uh, tackle box we picked up for maybe $1 at a thrift shop. Throw some stuff in there. I mean, you don't have to get these big fancy prepackaged, horrendously expensive first aid kits that I've looked at, whether they're small ones, to keep in your car, or you know, bug out backpack kits and everything. There's so much stuff in there that's really not. I wouldn't say it's not necessary, but it's just kind of overkill. It's a lot of stuff you really don't need. You could cut it down an awful lot, in other words. So anyway, what to grab first? Obviously, I have this little bag with some trauma shears, and I will tell you, I hate these things because it seems like you can cut one set of clothes off, and these things are done. Like, if you can see, you can barely like open and close these things. They're horrible. I've always hated these. I mean, I have several pairs of them just because of that reason. This, however, bandage scissors. Now, these actually were my mom's. My mom worked in the operating room, and I'm not sure where or when she acquired these, but she became a nurse uh like in the late 40s, I believe. And I don't know, like I said, I honestly don't know how old these are, but I'm going on 63, and these have been in our possession ever since I was a kid. And I prefer these much better. I mean, these are much easier. You can oil them up a little bit and stuff, but I'm just saying, like the blade, these will cut through clothing and stuff much better than these trauma shears that just seem to be like a once and done thing. But these are very, very old. I have no clue what it would be to buy these. But if you're going to get some scissors, I would recommend the bandage scissors. And you'll notice they have this little flat over here. That's so when you're underneath, obviously, you're not going to be cutting their skin up. But if, last resort, sewing scissors. These are obviously made for cutting through fabric, and they do. and they're great because sometimes once you get going, you can just cut. You don't even have to cut. You can just push it, and it'll just zip right through. You just got to be real careful. You're not going to be cutting your patient, or putting a little divot in them. But if you have some sort of engineering skills, which I severely lack, maybe you can figure out how to put some kind of little flat uh, thing on the end of them so that you're not cutting the patient. But I'm just saying, as a last resort, you can pick up sewing shears, Walmart, anywhere they have sewing supplies. Just be very careful that you're not going to be cutting into your patient. And I don't know why you would need one, but these have a handy dandy little, it's up here. Not sure why you'd need this, but if I can get it out, it has a little tape measure. I can't really think of a reason you'd need that, but you never know. Who knows? But anyway, cheaper and still works. You just gotta be a little more careful. Okay, flashlight. This thing I love. We have, I don't know, about four of these. Um, they're great because the bottom is magnetic, so uh, you can stick it somewhere. It'll, I guess computers aren't magnetic. Anyway, you can stick it on metal, and then you can bend it if you need to. Different, different angles. Has a nice little hook here. You can hang it. Like hook up. We have them hanging like up here in our living room because if the lights go out or whatever, we automatically know where our flashlights are. These things are awesome. They're from Rural King. I don't know. I know not everyone has a Rural King, but they do have a website. I think they still carry these. They were about $10 when we bought them. But these are awesome. You have the regular flashlight, and then you have your side, like a work light. And like I said, you can hang it, stick it somewhere, you can bend it, if need be. Long time ago, I had a really cool flashlight. Um, the whole thing was like bendable, and it was really neat. It just had a little tiny light on the end of it, but you could like put it around your neck, and then you could bend it to, however you needed it. And I guess I lost it or something. I don't know whatever happened to it, and I don't know if they still make those or not. You could probably look, but I would say something like this would be great for a multitude of situations. I mean, obviously, you want to try to keep stuff smaller if possible, but this is kind of an all-purpose, and you can, if you can find something that it'll magnet will adhere to, then it leaves both your hands free. You don't have to be holding a flashlight, or you can have someone else hold a flashlight for you. So anyway, puke bag. You don't need one of these. Just a couple grocery bags. Make sure they don't have holes in the bottom, obviously, but just get, some grocery bags. I keep them in my kits, just like to clean up my junk if I do stop at a wreck. And because you're not neat, you just open bandages and you throw everything everywhere, and then you go back and clean it all up. And it's nice to have a bag to put everything in. But these are these, nice special things they carry on ambulances and stuff. But again, you don't need one of these. If someone's vomiting, just get some grocery bags, maybe double bag them, and just let them puke their hearts out. And then, of course, I carry a notepad. Now, this is, of course, right now, when the ambulance comes, anything I've done, like taking a BP or taking their history or whatever, I can write this and then hand it off to them. But I don't know, if that service is always going to be available. So Uh, make sure you have some paper and a pen. Make sure the pen writes, because I have like 10,000 pens in my truck, and it never seems like any of them write when I need them to. And I carry just some basic bandages, uh, and I carry like an ace wrap. Carry some tape. I carry this type of like self-adherent tape. This is good for like if someone is bleeding from an artery, because this stuff just sticks to itself. Like every time my boyfriend has his blood drawn, they put this over the band-aid because he's on blood thinners and whatnot. But and I just have an assortment of bandages, mostly like 4x4s, just basic stuff. Like I said, if I would need more, I have a great big kit with all kinds of other stuff. But so this is something nice to put together, just as a little like first in kind of bag. And I have my old ALS cheat sheet field guide. And again, you can get these in basic life support, BLS, a field guide. But it gives you information on like medications, drugs, tells you what they're for. Um, it goes over trauma, ACLS, but that's advanced life support. You're not going to have a heart monitor and all that kind of stuff. Um, as a thing here on poisons, then it gives you notes. It has a Spanish to English translator thing. A lot of good stuff in these. You can look them up online and see if it's worth your while. It's just a nice little pocket reference guide. Um, and then I have one. This is multi trauma bandage. As you can see, it's very thick, and when you open it, it falls out. They're pretty big, and that would obviously be for something that's big and bleeding a lot. So you can slap one of these on or underneath or whatever. And so that's basically, besides my scissors, I had a little, I have this little baby pry bar that I've had forever and ever and ever. I have no idea where I acquired this thing. It says Stanley Tools. I don't think you're gonna pry like something really stubborn that you would need like the jaws of life or whatever, but you never know. Something like this might come in handy, and I can't imagine these would be all that expensive. And I don't think you want to be dragging around a great big crowbar. So this is just something that you just never know. You might need to pry I don't know, a concrete block off of someone's foot. You can't pick it up, or I don't know. Just for whatever. And I have a pulse ox. These are a good adjunct. I don't rely on these things because this will give you the pulse and the rate of the pulse, and it'll give you the level of O2 saturation. But there are a lot of things that can affect that, like nail polish, grease, or a lot of dirt on the fingers. There's all kinds of stuff. Excuse me. So I don't rely on these. It's just a good adjunct. It's just like an extra little toy to have. If you don't have one, you really don't need one. You need to look at the person, take their pulse manually, take their BP manually, look at them, touch their skin. Is it hot? Is it dry? Are they clammy? In other words, are they moist? Is their skin moist, cold, and they're sweating? Um, but these are the best. These and this are the best thing you need in an emergency. You need your mind, you need to stay calm, and you need that tactile, feeling, assessing. This stuff doesn't, it's just a piece of plastic. It doesn't care, it doesn't feel, okay? And of course, I have my BP cuff. Now, I would suggest you get one of these and learn how to use it. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. You can get a tutorial online, I'm sure. Um, if you get a book, it'll teach you. BPs are not hard to take, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time here going over how you take them. But it is important to know what a person's blood pressure is. And of course, you're going to need a stethoscope, of which I have like millions of them. This is my really good Littman. These are expensive. You don't need one of these. This is kind of a mid-grade, I don't know, no name brand, but this one is just fine. And then I was at a thrift shop, and I don't know where I said it, but I picked up another stethoscope because it was $1, and it was basically a good one, a decent one. I mean, it wasn't like a Littman, but I figured, hey, for $1, you just never know. Um, okay, so that's like what I have. Just we pull up on her, and there's a wreck, and there's no police, there's nobody there, there's no ambulance. Um, I will stop, and I don't worry about people suing me and things like that. It's never happened. Usually people don't even know who I am. No one asks. I just go in, do what I have to do. When the ambulance arrives, I give them whatever info I have, and then I'm on my merry way. So, uh, sorry, I'm trying to get through like a whole lot of stuff here. And I didn't want this to get too long, but if it does get long, you can always watch it in segments and then go back or whatever. But okay, first thing, splints. Now, I seem to have lost my Sam splint, which I don't even know if they make them anymore, but you can look on Amazon. All they are is, excuse me one second.